Hello, everyone. This is Ted Pick Jr. of Escapebox Games, and I'm here to talk to you today about Suited, the role playing game. Suited is a very quick and easy to learn role playing game designed by myself and Aaron Johnson. And we wanted to have a game that you could just pick up and play without having to sit down and read a whole bunch of rules. A game that you could literally play on the plane, or the train, or in an automobile because that's where this game was created, in the back or in the front of a U-Haul while going all the way across Texas. And we wanted to have a game that you could play without having to have all the different sided dice. I know that's kind of blasphemy for some gamers, a role playing game without dice, but you're not always going to have your dice on you. And we wanted to have a game that you could pretty much always play, no matter where you were and almost no matter what time of day it is. So we wanted to make a game that you could play using a single deck of cards. Because even if you don't have your dice, you can go down to the gas station, you can go down to the grocery store, you can go down to a thrift shop. Pretty much you could go anywhere, stop almost any random person on the street, and there's a good chance, maybe not with a random person, but there's still a good chance that you will be able to find a deck of playing cards. So Suited is played using a deck of playing cards and then the book itself. The rules for Suited only take up about roughly 3 to 4 pages. We've got 1 page, 2 page, 3 page, and the rest of it is all examples and game master advice. Now, the way you play Suited is actually very simple. You'll notice I have these tables here that we're looking at. These tables are all different themes that role-playing games tend to fit in. Whether that's a Western Wild West game, a Eastern Asian martial arts game, or even a superhero game, a sci-fi game. There's all different settings and genres that you can play in for this game. And we wanted to make that one of the key things about Suited, that you could play any genre of game. The other thing we wanted to do about it, or make sure about it, was that it was a very easy game to pick up and just start playing. You didn't have to sit down and do a whole bunch of character creation. You didn't have to sit down and do a whole bunch of mission prep for the GM. And so it was very important to us that we had random characters and also random missions. So the chances of you playing the same mission over and over and over, hopefully, isn't as likely. So today we're going to demonstrate that. We're going to make a character, and then we're going to generate a random scenario. And we are going to be using one of the new playsets that just came out in the second expansion, playset booster pack number 2. And the one we're going to be using is the Plunder game, the Plunder playset. Plunder is supposed to be a pirate theme. So think of Pirates of the Caribbean, or Master and Commander, or Bloody Broadsides, whichever game you want to go with, or whichever movie you want to go with. This is going to be a pirate-themed naval game. So we have a player table. We also have a game master table. The game master table is going to be used to randomly generate that scenario to run through. The player table is going to be used to make your completely randomly generated character. And I personally think this is a lot of fun because you tend to always get these weird, crazy characters that sometimes is outside of your comfortable zone, outside the bubble of characters you normally play. And having this weird random person kind of gives you a chance to try out things that normally you may not think of trying. The other fun thing about Suited is that character creation, when you're not stopping to explain everything every step of the way, usually takes about 5 minutes. Most of that is going to be writing your character down on the character sheet. So we've got our character creation table. We have our character sheets here. And when you're looking at the character sheets, you will notice they look probably a little different than most character sheets you're used to seeing. They're relatively small. You don't need this entire page. Each of these is a character sheet, so there's 3 sheets here. Each of these character sheets was designed by Aaron to be about the size of a 3x5 note card. So that even if you don't happen to have one of our fancy character sheets, you could just grab a piece of paper or a 3x5 note card and quickly just write down your character on that. One of the other big things you'll notice is a difference in our game is that there isn't a strength, there isn't a con, there isn't a wits or intelligence like a lot of other games have. Instead, we use a 4-stat system, which is clubs, diamonds, spades, hearts. This is suited after all. We couldn't have a card game without using the suits in it. So the way these break down, clubs represents your character's physical abilities, whether that's their stamina, their strength, their ability to just keep on pushing through, their ability to jump really high. It's mostly going to be strength, constitution, stamina related things. Your spades is going to be your character's dexterity, their finesse, their hand-eye coordination, their ability to drive, their ability to be really quick on their feet. Diamonds is going to be your character's mental ability. That's their ability to look around and notice things, their ability to recall information, their ability to think, wait a minute, maybe this isn't a good idea. And then last, hearts. That is going to be your likability. That is your character's charisma, their ability to talk to people, their comfort level being in weird situations. That's your heart. So the way you determine these, you're going to grab a deck of cards, you're going to shuffle it all up to make sure that it's nice and randomly generated here. My apology for the loud noise. Probably should have given you a loud noise warning. So here we go, one more. Now that I'm dropping cards all over the place on live broadcast. Here we go. All right. I swear, I know how to shuffle. Get that up going again. Okay. And then cut once. So the way we're going to do this, I'm going to use this middle sheet here. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to flip through until I get one of each suit. So there's my diamonds. I already have a diamond, not using that 5. There's my club. Another diamond. There's my spade. Another club. So now I'm going to go until I get a heart. So just to speed this up a little bit, I'm going to start flipping stuff out until I get a heart here. Nope, and there's our heart. All right. So to figure out our stats based off of these 4 cards we have here, what I'm going to do, there is a character creation chart in the front of the book, if you're actually using the booklet here, or if you have a PDF. What the chart basically comes down to is if you have an ace, the stat for that suit is going to be a 2. If you have a 2 or a 3, it's going to be a 3. If you have a 4, 5, 6, 7, or 8, it's going to be a 4. If you have a 9, a 10, or a jack, it's going to be a 5. And if you have a king or a queen, it's going to be a 6. So looking through these real quickly here, my clubs is a 6. That means my strength, my constitution, that's a 4. My spades is an 8. That's also going to be a 4. Diamonds, queen, that's going to be a 6. And hearts, 10. That's going to be a 5. So the range of scales here, 4 is going to be your average. That's your typical normal human being. Ace, so a 2, is going to be super, super below average. A 3 is going to be just slightly below average. A 4 is average. 5, above average. And 6, extremely above average. So what I have here, I have a relatively average human when it comes to strength, constitution, stamina, as well as their speed, hand-eye coordination. They're nothing to write home about. But at the same time, they're not too bad. But then we get over into the diamonds and the hearts, and I have a 6 in diamonds, which again, diamonds is going to be my mental stuff. So anytime I have to do something that involves thinking or noticing, I'm going to be using my diamond stat. And that is highly above average. I have a very intelligent, smart character here. Hearts is, again, my likability, my ability to talk to people, my comfort in weird situations. That's a 5. So I'm going to have a character that's physically average, but mentally and socially a bit above average. The next step here is where we're going to jump over to our actual character creation table. You'll notice we have descriptors, items, fame, and a spades bonus. So the ways that this is going to work, descriptors are going to give me 2 words. These words are randomly assigned, and they are how other people in this world, in this universe that our game takes place, would describe my character. These descriptors are supposed to give you some ideas of how to roleplay your character, how to act, how they would react in certain situations. So I'm going to flip until I get a heart for the first descriptor and a club for the second descriptor. So here we go. Go until I get a heart or a club. There's a club, and there's a heart. All right, putting those off into the discard. So my heart descriptor, if we look at this, is going to tell me that my character is scrappy. So apparently they're tough to knock down, they're good in a brawl, they're always ready and raring. They are scrappy. My 5 of clubs is going to tell me that they're also known as a bit of a thief. So I have a scrappy thief of some sort that is only average in the physical, but high above in the mental and social. So maybe this is the wise con man, or maybe it's the brains behind the operation that plans the whole thievery gig. We'll have to wait and see. Next thing I'm going to decide on is my items. I'm going to start with 3 items. I get a hearts item, which is usually some sort of common everyday item. A club item, which is usually some sort of armor or shield or weapon. And then a diamonds item, which is going to be some sort of really expensive or rare, hard to find item. So I'm going to go until I get 1 heart, 1 club, and 1 diamond. There's my heart. There's my club. And I know there's got to be a diamond in here somewhere, and there's my diamond. So looking at these, my first item is an ace, which is going to give me a bottle of rum +1. So I'm going to write that in the items area. Bottle of rum +1. My other ace of clubs is going to give me a well-maintained saber +2. So I'm going to put good saber +2. And then my final item, a 3 of diamonds, is going to give me an expensive musical instrument. Uh-oh. I think I may have made a bard of some sort. And my musical instrument is a +3. Expensive instrument +3. Okay. So these pluses after them represent how big of a bonus I'm going to get when I use that item. And I'll get into that in a little bit because we're almost done with our character now. I'm going to take those 3 things, put them in the discard pile. Next up is fame. This is a very fast, easy one. You flip until you get a diamond. Whatever the face value of that card is, that is how famous your character is. Fame represents 2 things in this game. It represents how well known your character is, thus fame. It's also going to represent how much money your character has. Are they able to purchase something? So when you're trying to buy something in game, you're going to flip a card, and if the face value of that card is equal to or less than your fame, you can purchase it at that time. If it's higher than your fame, you just don't got the money on you this time. Sorry, you can try again some other day. All right, so flipping until I get a diamond, and that is going to establish my character's fame. All right, I got a 10 there. So a 10 fame means that he's actually pretty well known. A 1 through a 6 means you got less than a 50-50 shot someone's going to know you, or pretty much no one knows you. A 7 and an 8 pretty much means you're guaranteed a 50-50 shot that you're recognized or someone knows you. And then a 9 through a king basically means almost everyone knows you, and you're going to be able to pretty much afford anything you want. So my character's a 10. That means they're pretty well known, they're relatively famous, and it's also going to tell me what my social combat's health is. So whenever you get into social combat, or a big argument, a debate, your fame is going to basically represent your social health. If you lose a social combat, if you lose a big debate or an argument, or someone puts you down and you don't quite get that snappy comeback, and other people see it, you lose fame. If you're the one that got that snappy comeback out or won the argument, you gain fame. All right, so we've got a 10. Our Scrappy Thief is relatively well known, but there's still people that haven't heard of them. Next up, we have our skills. But before I decide that, let's do Spades bonus here. Your Spades bonus is going to be what really separates your character from all the other characters in the game. Spades bonuses are randomly assigned, just like everything else, and they usually give you two things. One is a skill related to your bonus. The other is some sort of special power or special ability that only your character should have. So here we go. Let's flip until we get a spade. If there are any left in the deck. Oh, there we go. 9 of spades. So the 9 of spades, looking at it, tells me my character, his spade bonus is Quartermaster. They gain maths +2, so they're good at math. Makes sense. Got a high intelligence, or a high mental ability. But I can also declare that the ship's storage has a single needed +2 item in stock for every point of fame that I have. So as we're playing the game, if my crew is doing a heist of some sort, or if they're in trouble of some sort, I can, for every point of fame I have, so 10 points of fame, I can basically declare that we have 10 items somewhere on the ship that are equal to a +2 bonus that we can use for whatever we're trying to do. So that's kind of nice. I'm going to add that in. So in skills, I put my free maths bonus, maths +2. Spades bonus, I got my Quartermaster. And I'm going to write this in for a second. My apologies. For each fame, claim, ship has single +2 item. So if I was using a pen or a pencil to write this in, I'd be able to include the entire text there. But since I'm using a erasable marker, I can't be as nice and detailed as I'd want. I just have to put enough notes to remind myself of what I'm doing. So now I'm starting to get an idea of this character. They're a scrappy thief of some sort. They're the quartermaster for the ship, because all the characters in the plunder game are pirates aboard a ship. He's got a bottle of rum. He has a saber. He also has an expensive instrument. He's good at math, physically average, mentally and socially above average. He's extremely well known, which, by the way, anytime your fame is 8 or higher, you have to come up for a reason on why they're so well known. So I'm going to say, before he became a pirate and before he became an adventurer, he was a relatively famous musician. So I'm going to put famous musician. And in theme, this is just kind of final detail stuff here. We are playing Plunder. I should have done this earlier. My apologies. Player is Ted. And now, before I name him, I have just a couple of last things to do. Also, hello to the third person that joined us. Welcome. I hope you're enjoying this live stream. If you have any questions, comments, smart remarks, bad jokes, feel free to post them down in the comments, and I'll happily do my best to answer them for you. So, before I finish off this character, I've just got a couple last things to do. One is name him, and second is finish off his skills. When you're making a character in Suited, you get a certain number of skill points to determine what your character's at. The skills are the only thing, other than your name, that's not randomly assigned. You have a grand total of 7 points for making your character, as far as skills go. Now, the downside is, those 7 points, they have to be distributed between 3 to 4 skills, at least. So you'll notice my maths is a 2 right now. If I wanted to raise that, it would cost me one of my skill points to raise it by 1 point to make his math a +3. For something super, super general, and again, skills can be anything. I can have a skill in picking my nose. I can have a skill in swashbuckling. I can have a skill in marksmanship. I can have a skill in bravado, or fast, quick, lucky. If it's a super generic skill that could apply to anything, like luck, that can only be at most a +1. So I've used up one of my 7. Anything that's more specific than just lucky or fast can be up to a maximum of +3 at character starting. So I'm going to also give him musician at a +3. So I've used 4 of my 7. I'm going to give him fencer at a +2. I've used 6 now. And finally, one more point. I'm going to use that final point, that 7th point, to raise up my character's math skill. Tony, thank you for joining us, man. I'm glad that you're here. My apologies that you're coming in kind of right at the end of it. If you are interested, I'm going to be doing this live broadcast again tomorrow afternoon on Periscope, or basically Twitter. I am also going to be doing another one on Wednesday afternoon on Instagram, and I may even do one Wednesday night, possibly on Twitch or YouTube. We'll see how that goes. But if you have any questions at all, feel free to put them in the comments. I'm really glad you're here. Thanks for coming, man. And thank you for the congratulations. We were really, really glad to get this game out and in the public. It's awesome hearing some of the stories that people have been sharing of the games that they've been playing with it. And it's nice to have you here. Thanks for joining. So I've got 1 point in luck, 1 point in math, 3 points in musician. That puts me at 5. And then 2 points in fencer, 6, 7. Now, one other thing, it's not an official rule, but I like to include this because it amuses me, and I think it makes it really fun for the table and the players. If you can come up with skills that are kind of punny, definitely take advantage of that. So, for example, fencer typically means a sword fighter of some sort. Specifically, they're good with an epee, a foil, or a saber. But if I wanted to be sassy or scrappy, I could say that my character is also really good at building fences. So if I ever have to build a fence, hopefully my GM will allow me to use my fencer skill for that. So lastly, we're going to name this guy. He's a scrappy thief. He was a famous musician before he turned into a pirate. Let's give him... let's go Sylvester the Red. I have no idea where that came from. My apologies there. So we've got Sylvester the Red. Famous musician, ex-musician turned pirate. He is good mentally and socially, average physically, but he's good at math, music, kind of lucky, and he's okay with a sword. He's starting out with a bottle of rum, a well-maintained saber, and an expensive instrument of some sort. I still haven't figured out which instrument. If I'm going to go cliche, I think I'll give him an accordion, which I'll write in later. And he is also the quartermaster for our ship, which allows him, for each point of fame, so 10 times here, he can say that the ship has one item that gives a +2 bonus. Speaking of that +2 bonus, time to actually talk about the rules of how my character does stuff. This is very fast and easy. What you're going to do, anytime your character tries to do something, specifically something that has dire consequences should they fail. If they're trying to just cross a road or swim to the island, don't make them flip cards. Don't make them test to see if it happens. If it's something simple, don't slow the game down with mechanics. Just let it happen. But if there's a dire consequence, if Sylvester the Red is thrown overboard and he has to get to that island or he's going to drown, or there's a shark chasing him, then definitely have him make a swimming roll. Or in this case, a swimming flip. Because what you're going to be doing is flipping your deck of cards. So anytime you're trying to do something, you're going to figure out roughly which suit stat you'd use for that. So clubs is, again, physical, stamina, strength. Spades is speed, agility, hand-eye coordination. Diamonds is your mental ability, your intelligence, your wisdom, your ability to notice things, your ability to remember stuff. And hearts is your social ability, your likability, your comfort level at new things. So if Sylvester the Red is going to be trying to swim for that island before a shark can eat him, he is going to be using either his clubs or his spade stat here, depending on what the GM thinks is more suitable. If he's trying to swim really, really fast because he has a shark on his tail, I'd go for a spades here, because that's a speed-related thing. If there isn't a shark on his tail, and he has all the time in the world to get there, or maybe he doesn't have all the time, but it's not a huge emergency rush, I'd go with clubs, because then it's a stamina thing. Does he have the physical strength and fortitude to keep on going, or does he tire out and drown? So what we're going to do, we're going to go with a shark example here. So he's trying to go fast. Does he have any items that can help him swim? Looking at his items, he's got a bottle of rum, a good sword, and an expensive instrument, which I decided was an accordion. I'm going to go ahead and say no. He doesn't really have any items that are going to help him swim faster than the shark here. Does he have any math items here? Or skills? Could his math skills, or his luck skills, or his musician skills, or fencer skills help him swim faster? I'm going to say none of these three, the math, the musician, or the fencer, could really help. But the luck, I could see that maybe helping. So what I'm going to do, since he's trying to go fast, he's going to get his spade stat, a 4, his luck bonus, a 1, and if he had had an item that would have been useful here, he'd also get the bonus from the item. Now, if he had multiple skills or multiple items that could help, he only gets to pick one of each. So it's 1 stat, 1 skill, 1 item. You add those bonuses together, and then you flip a card. So he's got a 4, a 5, nothing there. So right now, he's at a +5 to whatever he's trying to do. This is where suited gets a little more interesting. When you flip your card, if the card is a suit of the opposite color from what you're trying to do, so again, spades in this case, nothing happens. If you flip the suit of the thing you're trying to do, so if he's trying to swim fast, if I flip a spade, whether he succeeds or not, something good is going to happen for him. If I flip the opposite suit of the same color, whether he succeeds or not, something bad is going to happen for him. So let's flip this and see how it goes. In this case, that is about the worst card that poor Sylvester the Red could have drawn. He is now at a 4, a 5, and a 6 to do whatever he's trying to do. In suited, you have to get at least a 5 to be successful. So he is successfully swimming, but we don't know if he's swimming faster than the shark. And on top of that, he was going for speed, which is spades. He drew a club, which is the opposite of the spades, which means whatever he's trying to do, something bad is going to happen to him. Now, if I was the GM, I would say, okay, a shark, that's a NPC of moderate scariness. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make him a mid-boss NPC. And what I mean by that, we'll flip back here to the rules. And there are 3 levels of NPCs in this game. You have what are basically kind of like minion level guys, mooks, if you're playing some other games, goons. They're the guys that are meant to get mowed down. They're the red shirts. You have minions, which are also kind of like small creatures. You have mid bosses, which are also medium creatures. And then you have the villain of the mission, the big boss of the mission, which is also the stats for a large animal. So if I'm going with a shark as a mid-boss character, or NPC, I'm going to see that our shark has 3 skills at a +6, 2 skills at a +7, and it has 25 points of health. Hold that a little bit closer for you so you can hopefully see that. So what I would do as the GM then, is I would break out a piece of paper, or I'd break out a Post-it note, and I'd say, all right, my shark is going to have 3 plus 6s and 2 plus 7s. I'm going to give him a plus 7 in swimming. And I'm also going to give him a plus 7 in chomping, because he's a shark. He bites a lot. And then he would also have 3 plus 6s that I haven't filled in yet. I can leave those blank for now and then fill them in when I get to that point of the game, if my shark needs them. So for example, if I get into combat and I want my shark to have rough skin to help him soak damage or not get hurt, I could write that in at that point. But that uses up one of my slots. An NPC that has filled in their slots, so if my shark has filled in his other 2 6s, from then on, anytime he has to do something that's not related to one of these 5 things, he only gets a plus 4 bonus at it, period. So my shark is chasing after Sylvester the Red. Sylvester got a grand total of a 6 on his flip. My shark, who's going to be swimming after him, so he gets to have a plus 7 to this, got a jack. The way face cards work, an ace is a 1, a jack is an 11, a queen is a 12, and a king is a 13. So this means that my shark just got an 11 plus a 7 for a grand total of 18 versus Sylvester's 6. Now, I would also say that trying to swim after him, the shark's going to be swimming fast as well. He wasn't swimming strong. He was trying to get to Sylvester. He's swimming fast, which would be a spades-related thing, in which case my shark also is going to have something go bad for him here. But the other thing about this game is, in a competitive action like what we just did, if it's a chase, if it's you're trying to sneak around, if you're trying to maybe find something before someone else, anytime you're in competition with someone else, you're going to do what we just did. And for one person to win, they have to beat the other party by 5 points. So Sylvester got a 6. Our shark got an 18. He definitely beat Sylvester by more than 5 points. So that means Sylvester has lost the swimming chase. The shark has caught up to him. And we are now entering combat. So the way combat works in this game is very simple. It's basically the exact same thing as what we just did. First thing we're going to do is determine initiative. We're going to flip cards. So here's Sylvester's card. He has a 10. Here's the shark's card. He has a jack. The higher cards go first. The lower cards go last. If there's a tie, so if there's 2 10s, their suit is going to determine the tiebreaker. So this is all located on pages for playing suited. That's going to be in the free sample edition. That will not be in the expansion books. But you'll see that ties are resolved in the order of hearts, diamonds, clubs, then spades. So if I had 2 10s here, a heart would go before the others, then a diamond, then a club, then a spade. All right. So looking at this, my shark has a jack. It beat Sylvester. He's going to go first. My shark is going to use his chomping attack here. And I'm going to say that that chomping is definitely going to be a club's action. So my shark declares he's going to chomp Sylvester. Sylvester then gets an action to defend himself. He gets to describe how he's avoiding the attack, how he's blocking the attack, how he's fighting back. So in this case, I would say that Sylvester is going to draw his well-maintained saber, and he's going to try to stab my shark in the nose to try to ward it off, because he's heard if a shark comes at you, you bop it in the nose. So my shark is going to flip first. He has his chomping at a plus 7, plus a 9, so he has a total of 16. And since it was a club's action, and he drew a club, something good is going to happen for the shark. Now, I remember, I forgot to establish the bad thing last time. So since they were both doing spades actions, but they both drew clubs, I'm going to say the bad thing is here, for the shark, I'm going to say the bad thing is that he was able to catch Sylvester by nipping at him and catching his foot, and now he has a big old mouthful of boot stuck in his mouth. And Sylvester, bad thing for him, Well, one, he got caught by the shark, and two, he's going to lose one of his favorite pairs of boots. So the shark has a boot stuck in its mouth. Sylvester is missing a boot and also in combat now. So what I'm going to say, because again, I'm the GM, I can come up with fun random things. I can come up with bonuses or penalties. I'm going to say my shark is going to be taking a -1 penalty while he spits out that boot before taking a chomp at Sylvester. So grand total, he flipped a 9 plus 7 minus the 1 puts him at a grand total of a 15. So 16 minus 1. My shark has a 15 with something good happening for him. Sylvester, trying to poke that shark in the nose to defend himself, is going to have a 4 for his clubs or a 4 for his spades. Since he's a fencer, he can try to do this with speed and agility. I'll leave it up to the player to decide what he wants to do. For me, as the player, I'm going to say that Sylvester's going to try to do this quickly. He's going to try to get that blade between him and the shark as fast as he can. So he's going to use his spades bonus of 4. He's going to use his fencer bonus of 2. So he's up to a 6. And then he also gets his saber bonus of a 2. So Sylvester is going to have a +8 to this action, going against the 15. He has a 10 total. Whew, but it's not a club, so nothing bad happens for him here. But the downside is he failed his defensive action. The shark had a higher number, so Sylvester is going to be getting a nip here. So what I'm going to say is going to happen. The shark got around Sylvester's blade. He took a bite out of Sylvester. And all characters in this game, unless they have a spades bonus that says otherwise, start with 20 health. When you take damage, when you defend yourself or when you're attacking, you can take damage at either time. The way it works, the attacker, the defender. Attacker says what they're doing, defender says how they're blocking. They both flip. Whoever has the highest number wins that action. The lower number takes the difference in damage. So the shark was the winner here. He had a 15. Sylvester, he's the loser. He had a 10. So that means Sylvester is going to be taking the difference in damage. He is taking 5 points of damage here, which drops him down to 15 health. And since the shark got a suit that was the same action as what he was trying to do, something good is going to happen for the shark. So I'm going to say that what happens here is that the shark swims up, bites Sylvester the Red, and has a really good grip on him after spitting out that boot. He has a great grip on his ankle, and now Sylvester is getting dragged underwater by the shark. So that's the shark's turn. The 10s now come up. It's Sylvester's turn. Sylvester is going to try to defend himself. He's going to try to shake loose of this shark. And what he's going to do is he's going to just start stabbing that shark. He's going to start stabbing and stabbing and stabbing into the shark's nose with his saber, trying to force that shark to let go of his foot. Since I said something good was going to happen to the shark here, I'm going to give the shark a +1 bonus to this for his grip on Sylvester's foot. So Sylvester is going to be doing the same thing here, except this time he's going to be using his strength. So he's going to be using clubs, he's going to be using fencer, and he's going to be using his saber. So again, he's at a +8. The shark here is going to use his rough skin to defend himself, because they have a rough, thick skin. So the shark is just at a +6. Usually, the players are going to have a higher bonus than the NPCs, because the players are the heroes after all, and we do want this to be a fun game. But when you get into mid-bosses, and when you get into the big bosses, the villains, their stats are going to be a lot closer to the player characters, sometimes even surpassing them. Alright, so we're going to have an 8 for Sylvester for his attack to get the shark to let him go. The shark has a 6 for his rough skin, but he also gets that +1 from his bonus from the previous one. So, Sylvester attacking. He has a 16 with something good happening for him. The shark trying to not get jabbed too hard, blocking with that rough skin of his. At a +7, got a 20. Oof. Not too good here, Phil Sylvester. So the shark was the defender. He got a 20. Sylvester was the attacker. He got a 16. Higher number wins. The shark's the winner here. He successfully defends himself. So what I'm going to say happens is, as Sylvester is stabbing at the shark, trying to get him let go, he accidentally ends up moving his foot a bit more in the shark's mouth and cutting himself deeply on the shark's teeth. So that means, since he lost, he had a 16, the shark had a 20. Sylvester just lost another 4 points of health, and he is down to a 10 out of 20. Things are not looking too good for Sylvester, but he was doing a clubs action. He got a club, so something good's going to happen to him. I'm going to say he was successful in at least stabbing the shark enough to have it let him go. He didn't hurt the shark, but he startled it enough that it let him go, and he's now swimming free back to the surface. So those go into the discard, and our combat would continue. I'd flip more initiative. Sylvester, the shark. Aces are low in this game. Sylvester goes first. So here, Sylvester could say that he's attacking the shark or he's going defensively, and the combat would continue until either the shark is dead, Sylvester is dead, or something has happened to help Sylvester get away. Oof, well that was fun. One other fun thing that happens in this game is the aiding another player action. If you're playing in a party with other people, you can always help the other people. And the way that works is you spend your turn helping them. So, going back to the previous example, we have Sylvester who's fighting the shark. We've got the shark that's trying to eat Sylvester. And we'll say that Sylvester has a ship of crewmates that are trying to help him. He fell overboard, they're bringing the ship around, and that first part of the chase and combat was them bringing the ship around. They are now close enough to help out in this next turn of combat. So he has 1, 2, 3 teammates. A 4, a 5, and a queen. Now, I'm going to say the queen, they don't know what they're going to do yet. They're going to put themselves on hold. They're going to wait. So they're going to flip over their card and say, okay, next highest card gets to go. Next highest is Sylvester. Sylvester says he's going to defend himself again. He's going to break the surface, get a deep breath of air, see his ship, wave at them to say, hey, I'm over here, and then he's going to grab his saber and prepare for the shark to come at him again. And he's going to fight tooth and nail to keep this shark away. It would then go to 5, 4, and the ace. Now, the 4, they don't think they're going to be able to do anything here. We're going to say they're a melee fighter of some sort, whereas the 5 is a ranged fighter of some sort. The ranged fighter, they could shoot at the shark. They could try to hit it with a cannon or a musket or a bow. But the 4, they don't want to risk jumping into the water with the shark, especially since Sylvester's bleeding everywhere. So the 4 is going to spend their turn to try to help Sylvester. And the nice thing about this is they can do it after the final totals are known for whatever's going on. So Sylvester, again, tries to stab the shark at his +8. He got a 19. The shark, using his rough skin to defend himself, +6. No special bonuses this time. He got a 7. So right now we have an 18 to a 7. Sylvester is going to be doing about 11 points of damage to this shark. That's almost half the shark's health. Now the queen, the 5, and the 4, they could say that they're helping Sylvester with this. They already know Sylvester's winning. They know that he hurt that shark. The 4 and the queen, they're going to decide to help him out. And the way they're going to do that, they're going to describe how they're helping him. The queen is going to say, I use my turn to warn him, hey, watch out, it's coming from behind, so that he has enough time to turn around and hopefully stab at that shark. So that's how the queen is going to use their turn. The 4 is going to say, oh, I start throwing some rocks or some shots, or I throw stuff into the water around Sylvester to try to confuse the shark. So they both said how they're helping. The 4 and the queen are trying to help him out. So by helping him, they are sacrificing their turns. They're sacrificing their ability to take an action. So they both discard their initiative cards, and then they each flip 1 card. If it's a heart, they add a +2 to Sylvester's total. If it's a diamond, they add a +1. If it's a club, they don't add anything, but they also don't take away anything. If it's a spade, they subtract 2 from whatever Sylvester is trying to do. So the queen, shouting out, hey, look out behind you, got a diamond. Sylvester's now up to a 17. He knows where that shark's coming from. The 4, trying to throw stuff in the water to distract this shark, confuse it so it doesn't have an easy time targeting him. Got a club. It didn't hurt, also didn't really help because now there's a whole bunch of the water everywhere. But neither of them got in the way. They didn't subtract from his total, whereas if they'd gotten a spade, well, there we go, they would have subtracted 2 from whatever Sylvester was doing. So, a +1 bumps him up to he had an 8, an 11, a 19. That bumps him up to a 20 now. The shark had a 7 total. 20 minus 7, 13. The shark is now taking 13 points of damage as Sylvester successfully attacks the shark as it comes near. And he, in that one attack, did half of the shark's damage. The combat would then proceed from there until finally Sylvester is out of the water, he's rescued, where the shark is dead, where Sylvester's dead. Woo! That was a lot of talking. Thanks for bearing with me there. That kind of summarizes the character creation and the combat and action side of things. Now, we've got one last thing to talk about, and that is the random mission generator. So we're going to go back to the plunder table, and now we flip over to the Game Master side of things. By the way, Tony, if you have any questions about anything, please let me know. I will happily stop and talk about whatever you have questions about. So, we've got the Game Master side of things. You'll notice that this one doesn't have any suit stuff on the tables like the other did. These have the suits on them saying you have to have a card of that type. The Game Master side, it doesn't matter what the suit is. What matters is the number, the face value. You're going to have the random fill-in-the-blank stuff up here. At the bottom, you're going to have a fill-in-the-blank sentence, kind of like a Mad Lib that you're trying to do here. It will also give you, if there's any special notices about the game play set, or any special notes that you got to know, is also going to be listed down in the Game Master box. So this one has the fill-in-the-blank sentence to generate the mission, and it also has a special note that ships in this game have health, and that when a pirate is aboard their ship, they get the ship's bonus when they're on board of it. So if the ship has a +3 or a +2 bonus, the pirates could choose not to use an item to instead use the ship's bonus. That's what it says down here in the bottom. All right, time for us to fill in the blank. So the random mission for this is, while sailing the seas in a pirate ship +2, a hook was discovered. A hook, you will see, is one of the randomly generated things that we'll get up here. This hook contained hints of riches hidden in location, which everyone knows is complicated and cursed. Now, there is weather on the horizon, and assuming the ship survives it, there is also a sea filled with troubles, and troubles to get through. So, we're going to flip cards to determine what these are. The first one, our hook. While sailing the seas in a pirate ship +2, Queen of Clubs, Queen, a torn and burnt battle flag was discovered. So I'm going to make a note here. So, the hook, torn and burnt battle flag, which contained hints of riches, a king, your heart's wishes. So hearts, you know what, I am going to go fast here instead of spelling that out. Hearts, riches. All right, that is hidden in location 10. The glacial fortress of Eric the Fang. Uh-oh, sounds like they're going against some sort of Viking. And Tony, thank you. I feel like sometimes I can get a little too complicated or a little too into detail here. I'm glad I'm doing a good job at this. I appreciate that. And I also love random tables. It's one of the reasons we have them in this game. I really enjoy getting a random character and just having it all thrown together and trying to make sense out of the weird hodgepodge. So, location is a glacial fortress of Eric the Fang. So fortress makes it sound like he has an army of some sort. It's up in the north. Okay. Which everyone knows there's a complication of some sort. This fortress, despite being a glacial fortress, is partially covered in jungle. Covered in jungle. And is also cursed of some sort. So there's another curse thing we're going to flip here. A 5. It is frequently shaken by horrible quakes and shivers. Just make a note here that it is shaken by quakes and shivers. Frequently. All right. There's weather on the horizon, so flip for weather. 6. There's a thunderhead. And a sea, and assuming the ship survives it, there's a sea filled with troubles, troubles, and troubles. So I'm going to flip 3 cards here. Each one is going to come from the troubles page. So a 2, a 7, and a king. Excellent. It's 3 different things. We got trouble 1, trouble 2, trouble 3. All right, trouble 1, a 2. We have the Honorable East India Trading Company's ships, which delight in blowing apart the ships of other businessmen. I'm going to put Honorable East India Trading Company. 2 is a 7. Other pirates that will destroy your ship, plunder your cargo, and then maybe kill you or offer you a job. Other pirates. And trouble 3, a king. The Spanish Navy, which will chase a pirate ship to the ends of the earth to see her destroyed and sunk. Spanish Navy. All right, so putting this all together with our fill-in-the-blank sentence, we have, while sailing the seas on a pirate ship +2, a torn and burnt battle flag was discovered, which contained hints of your heart's deepest wishes, hidden in the glacial fortress of Eric the Fang, which everyone knows is partially covered in jungle, and frequently... Oop, I lost it there, sorry. And frequently shaken by horrible quakes and shivers. Now, there is a thunderhead on the horizon, and assuming the ship survives it, there's also a sea filled with the Honorable East India Trading Company, other pirates, and the Spanish Navy to get through. So using that, I would then, as the GM, try to create just a very basic 4-hour plot line for my characters to get through. So how I would probably start this is they'd start by discovering the flag, which would probably have some sort of embroidery on it, some sort of picture on it of Eric the Fang in his fortress. I'm going to just draw a really bad fortress here, put a little fang in it to represent Eric. That should be more curved. There we go. They're going to find something in it that represents riches and wealth. Give it a little crown. Heart's desires. Hooray. Put a little heart in there. All right. So there's a flag with a picture. Eric the Fang. Heart's desires. Yada, yada, yada. They're going to probably have a debate of whether or not they should go after it, what they know about the place. I'd have some people give me a diamonds flip to try to remember who Eric the Fang is or the weird stuff about his island. If they do remember it, I'm going to have them know that it's a glacial fortress. So glacial, it's ice covered, but it's also partially covered in jungle. Normally that wouldn't make a whole bunch of sense, but what I would say here is that we have our island that is partially covered by a frozen forest, a frozen jungle. Something happened and it all got crystallized. It is very, very cold. And now you have this thick rainforest jungle with this thin layer of ice surrounding everything. We also know it is constantly shaken all the time and it rattles and shivers about. So there's going to be earthquakes, which means now there's going to be some sort of complication of if they got on that island, they're going to be dodging icicles falling from the jungly forest above them and potentially spearing them and impaling them. So I already know, just based off of that little stuff there, the basics of that probably final encounter. So they got their flag. They know a bit about Eric. They know a bit about the weird island he lives on. And I'm going to say that as they're heading there, they're going to run into the Honorable East India Trading Company. I'm going to say they probably have some sort of fight. There's a bad symbol for fight. They either escape or they succeed in winning, but then they hit a big old thunderstorm. So, upset thunderstorm, lightning bolt, lightning bolt, lightning bolt. I'm going to have them give me some sort of sailing rolls to see if they can make it through the storm successfully without breaking up, see if the ship takes any damage. They're then going to come out the other side of that storm, and they're going to run into more pirates. Hooray, more pirates. I'm sure that's going to make them very happy. Maybe the pirates are on the same quest for Eric's treasure that they're on. Another potential fight, or maybe even an ally here, depending on how I want to play this as the GM. They then are going to head off to the island, and I'm going to say that as they're heading there, whatever happens with the original pirates that they ran into, as they're heading to the island, they are going to discover maybe that there's some other sails on the horizon chasing along behind them, or maybe the island is already under siege by the Spanish Armada, and they have to either escape from it, or maybe find some way to break through the siege or sneak through to get onto the island. Tony, sailing would be stamina or question mark. Honestly, I would kind of play that one by ear based on how the previous stuff all went. So, for example, if in the fight with the Honorable East India Trading Company, the ship was damaged, I would have them during the thunderstorm. Maybe I'd say that the mast is starting to crack from the damage during the battle, and I would have someone give me a spades flip of some sort to try to climb up there and secure it before the mast snaps. Or maybe I would say, okay, guys, there's rough blowing winds. You were able to get the sails up, or you're trying to get the sails up. Give me a spades bonus to quickly get those sails up, and I'd have everyone flip me a spades action to raise the sails. And I'd say, okay, the most part, you guys all succeeded in raising the sails, but you hear a loud snap coming from the mast. Maybe you didn't get the sails up fast enough, or maybe the winds are just pulling at that timber. How do you want to try to secure the mainmast before this wind snaps it into kindling? And I'd let them come up with ideas on how they're going to try to secure the mainmast. And based off the suggestions they'd make, I decide, okay, that one sounds like a spades thing. That one sounds like a clubs thing, a stamina thing. All the time, I'm probably going to have the helmsman up there trying to steer the ship in this storm, who's either going to be giving me, honestly, yeah, no, I wouldn't even say either. He or she would be giving me clubs flips for steering the ship in a storm. They have to physically keep that wheel in position. They have to physically keep it on track and going the right way. So yeah, I'd say that one would be a stamina clubs strength related flip there. I like it. I'm glad you approve. I really enjoy this system so far. It's been a lot of fun designing it. It's been a lot of fun playing it. I really enjoy having my players come up with ideas on how to solve the problems, and then telling them, okay, you know what? That's a silly idea. It's goofy. There's no way in hell that should work. But you know what? I'll let you try it. That sounds like a diamonds action to me, as you're trying to quickly think of what you have on hand that you could use for this. So, there we go. Securing the main mast. I have Sylvester, the Red. He's the quartermaster. He survived the fight with the shark. He's pretty beat up. He's hurt. He's made it back on the ship. They're trying to get through this storm. He is able to say they have 10 items aboard the ship anytime he wants, but he only has 10 times he can do that. He hears that loud crack, and he says, okay, I'm going to make sure that there's a hammer, some nails, and a large piece of bendable metal, like maybe a strong piece of metal that we could bend and wrap around where it's starting to crack, and we're going to hammer that into place. He just used 3 of his 10 items there, but I'd say him sacrificing those 3 items, all of which would give them a +2 to securing the mast, would, unless they flipped horribly on it, I'd say, yeah, that's good enough for me. You guys got it. So that's how I'd have that one go about. And so they'd get through the storm. They'd run into the other pirates. They'd either bring the pirates on as allies, or they'd fight them off or outrun them. They get to the island. The island is surrounded by the Spanish Armada. Quick flag here. So I don't have more than just black, so Spanish Armada. So they either have to sneak through the Armada or fight it and have them chase them off. They get from the Armada onto the island. That's when we have their running through the island, trying not to get impaled by the ice. And then they get through the island and they get to meet Eric the Red or Eric the Fang. And we then have a big final big boss scene with them fighting with Eric the Fang, or maybe trying to sneak past Eric the Fang and his guards to steal the treasure. And once they did that and they made it back aboard their ship, that's the end of the game. And that right there, that is more than enough for 3 to 5 hours of a game. Suited is meant to be originally a one-shot game system. It's supposed to be a whole bunch of randomly created one-shots that's different every single time you play. We are hoping to try to get it as a Kickstarter next year in 2019. One of the Kickstarter goals that we're looking at including is an optional rules system that allows you to use Suited for extended campaign play. So it's not just one-shots. It'd be more of like an episodic TV series where each game would be an episode in it, and your characters would gain points to level up and get new skills and abilities and raise their stats, or maybe buy a new spades bonus or something. That's one of the things we've considered. At its core, right now, it's a one-shot system, but it can very easily be converted into long play campaign style games. I'm pretty happy with it. One second. Tony, I can see you said something there. Let me read it real quick. I do like to try to think of the different ways ahead of time that the players could solve something. I really enjoy the narrative here, because that was the big focus for us. We wanted to have a game that could be more focused on the story than on the dice rolling. We wanted people to focus more on the acting and the pretending and the getting away into the fantasy of it and the role playing, and not the role playing. We wanted to take the whole idea of rolling dice and flipping cards for every single little action out of it and have people focus on, okay, this is what my character's good at. How could they potentially do this? And letting them come up with ways to handle stuff and think about that instead of thinking about the min-maxing and the stats and the statistics. That's one of the other reasons I'm a really big fan of the system we came up with, because having random characters means that you can't really min-max much. At most, if we flip back over to Sylvester here, at most, if I was trying to min-max this as best as I could, I would have a 6 for a stat, I'd have a 3 for a skill, because remember, skills are capped at 3, and I might have an item related to that skill that's a 3. That means at most, I'm getting a plus 12 to actions, which if it's just that one thing that's not very punny, which could give me potentially multiple ways to handle it, I might be really, really good at that one thing, but I'm not going to be very good at much else. I'd be a one-shot pony, a one-trick pony here, and I wouldn't be very useful at all outside of that one thing. And so it's really hard, again, to min-max stuff in this, because the highest you can get is a 12, and that's if you get really, really lucky when you're flipping your stats. Because remember, you could feasibly end up with 2s in everything, which means you could be looking at best having a 2, a 5, and plus 8 total for your best thing that you're at if you have an amazing skill and an amazing item. So it's really hard to min-max. It's all random, and it really encourages people to be creative to try to come up with different ways to handle stuff. Some scenarios I've run a post-apocalypse game where someone started out with a utility vehicle of some sort, and they said, hey, could I have a duck boat? And I said, what? And they're like, yeah, I want a duck I want a duck boat. I want one of those duck tour cars that's an amphibious boat or amphibious car that it's like a van that's also a boat. And I'm like, you know what? It just says utility vehicle. Sure, I'll allow that. And they ended up in this one area that was randomly determined. That's the other thing I like about this is if I need to come up with an item for them to find, I flip it over and I say, okay, do I want it to be a random item that is kind of useful, a weapon of some sort, or a really rich, useful item? And I'm like, okay, if they find a rich item on this pirate boss, a 9, that pirate boss had a poisoner's kit +3. That's awesome. Easy to do. But if I also need an idea of, okay, they failed at trying to escape from that thundercloud, and now they're blown off course and they have crashed upon an island. Well, I know that they are on an island that is swarming with rats and also has home to an active volcano that could blow at any time. And if I wanted to name it, 10. Oh, that's Glacial Fortress of Eric the Fang. Can't have that one. Queen. They are on an island known as the Trenches of Parabor that is swarming with rats and has an active volcano that can blow at any time. And now I just randomly created a place that they're probably not going to run into again. So even going with the example of the 10, I would have had the Glacial Fortress again, which if I hadn't already done that, cool. But this time the Glacial Fortress is swarming with rats and on an active volcano, not a frozen jungle with earthquakes. So it's always a different place, and I can randomly come up with spots and scenarios because the GM stuff is usually going to have a list of random items, such as the hooks, locations, such as what's on here, as well as a villain of some sort, which is usually going to be the Troubles, the spade thing, where the spades would be for the character stuff. Some other examples of fun random things you can do in here. So we just released our second expansion pack. It has the Plunder playset, so pirates. It has the Superheroes playset, and it also has In the Shadows, which is a supernatural themed game in the vein of World of Darkness or Riverdale or any of those games. I hate to say it, but like the Twilight series or any games that have vampires, werewolves, fairies, ghosts, wizards, witches, all living in a modern setting. We could have In the Shadows here. We could have regular people that have stuff like a library card, a bulletproof vest, a clunker of a station wagon. But they all happen to be, they all happen to be swamp creatures of some sort. And they're just living their lives until all of a sudden, oh no, here comes a gaggle of gremlins messing everything up. So In the Shadows is that supernatural themed stuff. We have Plunder, which is the one that we just saw, the pirate themed one, and then the superheroes. In total right now, we have 9 play sets released. Going through them in order, we've got In the Shadows, which is supernatural themed. We have a noir game, which is detective mystery set in the 20s, roughly, of America. Pelts, which is an anthropomorphic game designed after Brian Jake's Redwall, Mouse Guard. If you play tabletop games, miniature fighting games, Burrows and Badgers. Plunder, we already talked about that. That's Pirates, Pirates of the Caribbean, Master Commander, take your pick. Post-apocalypse, exactly what it sounds like. The fun thing about the post-apocalypse one is the apocalypse is going to be usually different every time. That's what the setting one is down over here. It talks about the different types of apocalypses you could have, whether it's Waterworld or Mad Max or a corporate world where it's all more Blade Runner style. You could have a robot overlord's world, more in line with the Matrix or Tripods. Space-time is a sci-fi theme setting, more in line with the old school Star Treks, specifically the original first season of Star Trek with Captain Kirk and Spock and Dr. McCoy and everyone. And in this one, you play a adventuring group of heroes aboard an intergalactic peacekeeping ship that is sent out on random missions to help solve problems and deal with issues. The superpowered one is, again, superheroes. You have randomly generated superheroes that have to deal with a randomly generated villain that's doing villainous things in villainous locations. You have the Western table, which is exactly what it sounds like. It's a Wild West game. So you have a lot of Native Americans, cowboys. You have random mountain men or gamblers, snake oil salesmen, miners, that they all have different goals of some sort. And then the last one we have is Wushi-Ogushi, which is roughly translated as ancient hero poetry, I think is what it comes out to. I'd have to double check the translation again. But this one is an East Asian martial arts theme. So Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, Hero, pretty much any Jet Li, Asian Jackie Chan movie out there. But this one is more focused on like high fantasy with like sorcerers and flying fists. Maybe you could pull off a Kung Fu Hustle style game with it. And that's it for the genres that are out right now. We're also looking into doing some other genres that we're looking at releasing as standalones or maybe as a holiday pack, some different play sets. But that's it for the ones released right now. When we do eventually do the Kickstarter, we're going to have these 9 finished play sets. And they're going to still be in random tables like this, but we're going to be having an artist, probably Erin. Erin is my partner in all this. She is awesome. She is the one that has done all of the artwork for the game, whether it's the covers for the game, whether it's the characters that we use in them. The goal is to try to have the tables be specifically created with really cool artwork that goes with them. So for the post-apocalypse one, for example, it could be a signpost or a billboard that has chunks taken out of it, or maybe it's got like bullet holes in it or something. But she's done a really gorgeous job with the artwork in this game, and I'm glad you're liking it, man. Right now, all 3 of the books that are out, you have the free sample edition, you have the 2 booster expansion packs. Those are all technically free on DriveThruRPG right now. I say technically because we released both the expansion packs as pay what you will, or pay what you want. So you can technically put in $0 and get them for free, or you can put in 50 cents or a couple dollars if you decide that you like it enough that you want to pay us for it. But that being said, I've kind of talked about everything there is in this game. Thanks for being with us. I hope you enjoyed it, Tony. I really appreciate you coming in at the end there, or I should say at the middle there. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us here on Facebook, on Reddit, Instagram, Twitter. Escapebox Games is going to be the user handle we use at all those, except for Reddit. You found me on there, Purple Harp. If you have any questions, just let us know. You can also email us. This back cover is a little out of date. It is actually just going to be escapeboxgames@escapeboxgames.com. Ignore the Proton Mail there. And the whole plan is, again, when this is all done, we're going to have about a 50 to 100 page book. We're looking to try and have a nice soft cover version and a hardcover version. And we really want to kickstart it probably sometime in the middle to late next year and try to get this as an actual hard copy book out there in the world for people to find in their game shops and play, and not just a PDF digital version that's off DriveThru. So thanks for tuning in, man. I'll hang out for a few more minutes in case you have any other questions or anything else you want to say, and then I need to go get a drink of water. My throat's getting a little dry. But at the same time, if you decide you do want to try it out and play a game, just let me know anytime. I usually try to run games on Roll20 for people that are interested in it. I haven't done one in the past couple months because my internet isn't the best, but I think I may have figured out a scenario that lets me possibly run games. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, if you ever end up playing it with your friends, or if you have a gaming group, let us know how it goes. I'd love to hear your feedback. And thanks for tuning in, man. It means a lot. So I'm going to go quiet. I'm going to grab a quick drink here, and I'll wait and see if you have anything you want to say in the comments. And if not, thanks for tuning in. Have a good rest of your night, and hopefully we'll see you again at a gaming table somewhere playing Suited someday. Yeah, I hear you about Roll20 and mobile. You can technically play it on mobile as long as the GM has a paid account. Um, they add in some mobile support for GMs that I think are supporting them at the $10 a month range. You can't officially use the application like they have for tablets on it, but you can open it up on a web browser and then in the settings set the web browser to desktop settings, and that way you can actually see the desktop page on your phone. It's just a tiny little screen, and it's hard to click on specific things, but you can technically do it. All right, man. Have a nice night. Catch you later, and I'll look forward to your feedback. Thanks for tuning in, Aaron. Thank you as well for being here this entire time. I appreciate it. Uh, I'll talk to you in a little bit. Bye.